All right, welcome everybody. I'm really excited about this call today. I'm sure you are as well. We're going to give it a few more minutes. I'm glad you're on time. I appreciate that. But we're going to allow some of the latecomers to sign in. We got a ton of people registered for this call. But in the meantime, let me go ahead and explain why we're here. And this is really important. Why you should pay close attention today. And then I'll introduce you to our special guest and my good friend, Cam Dunlap. So right now, as we speak, the country is trying to get back to business as usual, right? I mean, I don't know which state you live in, what your situation is, but as things are starting to reopen, we can see that economic devastation has already been caused by the COVID climate that we're living in right now. And these lockdowns are significant. And unfortunately, I think there's going to be a lot more pain to come before we start getting out of this. And, we're not going to go back to pre-COVID unemployment levels anytime soon. And many people, unfortunately, won't get their jobs back, at least not right away. There are going to be a lot of tenants that are going to continue to struggle. They're going to struggle paying their rents. And that's going to result in more distressed and motivated sellers. You're going to have tired landlords and homeowners who aren't going to be able to go through the forbearance process because, they're smart enough to realize that forbearance is just a trap anyways. All of this means a huge opportunity for us as real estate investors to help sellers get out of the situations while at the same time buying properties at a discount ourselves or wholesaling those properties to other investors. The second half of 2020 and all of 2021, I truly believe will present far better opportunities for all of us than anything that we've seen since the financial crisis of 2008. Certainly none of us are happy about people suffering. But as investors, we've got the opportunity not just to solve problems for these people, but to also build far better futures for ourselves and for our families. So the first thing my guest is going to show you today is a system that lets you find the most motivated sellers in any market quickly. Whether you're a wholesaler or looking to buy deals for yourself, this is the most important part for you to pay attention to carefully, because this is going to supercharge your ability to find deals quickly. He'll not only show you how to get the best leads, but also the cheapest way to get these leads that you'll come across anywhere. And those leads are going to include the phone numbers. Imagine that. Wait till you see this product. And if you're an up-and-coming wholesaler, or if you're already a more experienced wholesaler, the second thing he'll show you is how to access cash buyers in the same system instantly. And finally, you'll get access to something very, very unique, which is no fee funding. This is important if you're wholesaling because there will be a situation where you'll need to be able to actually close the deal instead of assigning, and transactional funding normally can be pretty expensive, but not today. This is called the real estate trifecta. Sellers, buyers, and funding, and you massively benefit from it. And it gives you a complete successful real estate business where you have every base covered. Our special guest today is a good friend of mine. His name is Cam Dunlap. I have known him for over 22 years. He's been in the real estate business for several decades now, and his level of experience is unparalleled, and he's still out there doing deals right now as we speak. As you're probably aware, there are a ton of brand new gurus out there that did a couple of deals, and now they're out there selling products, they're teaching, and unfortunately, they're coaching too. But that's not Cam. As you'll see, Cam is not only a pro at this game, but he's also incredibly down to earth. And here's the thing I like about Cam. I've known him for years. I've personally vetted everything that we're about to show people. The tools that you provide, the resources you provide, and the level of in-house support that you provide to your clients is absolutely fantastic. When I started buying multifamily properties, I was flipping single-family properties so I could get a chunk of cash to put down as a down payment for a multifamily property. With this system, this makes doing that so much easier than I had to do when I first started in this business back in 1996. Yeah, if you do the math, Cam and I met in 1998, just 2 years after I started in this business. So, Cam, I'm excited. I'm ready to roll. Are you?
Clearly, you are excited, and I appreciate your level of excitement. And when he says that he's vetted me, he means it. And I'm honored to be here. So I'm ready to rock and roll when you are.
All right, let's do it. I know you got a lot to cover in the short time that we have. So everybody, you need to pay attention because this is an incredibly unique system. It's incredibly powerful. And in fact, within the next 10 to 15 minutes, you'll see inside of this platform that Kim's going to show you. So Kim, let's roll.
Okay, well, thank you very much for your kind introduction, and I appreciate our friendship very, very much. So what I want to talk about is what I call the real estate investing trifecta. So if you've ever, and I'm not a fan of horse racing, but I know what a trifecta is. That's when you choose 3 horses out of the entire field, and when those 3 come across the finish line in any order, as long as they're the first 3, you win the trifecta and you win big time. And that's what this is all about. And with COVID and, you know, the fallout that we've yet to see, I am absolutely convinced that this may be the greatest opportunity we have as real estate investors for, who knows, another decade or more. You know, if you've been sitting on the sidelines waiting for the market to correct, or if you've been, you know, just sort of watching and frustrated by, you know, a seller's market like we haven't seen in a long time, if ever, I get it. But now is the time to act. And by the way, if you're feeling uncertain, which I think there's about 320 million people in this country, that's our population, that are feeling uncertain, there is the best way, there's no doubt about it, the best way to kill uncertainty is to take action. When you're busy doing something, you can't feel or think about uncertainty. And so now is the time to act, and I could not be more excited. And this is the 4th disaster, 4.5 if you, I kind of look at the dot-com crash and 9/11, they came very close together, and they were small, not particularly deep recessions, but counting that as one, this is the 4th one of these disasters that I'm now going to invest my way through. And I can tell you, regardless of what you choose to do, I, and you, if you choose to come along for the ride, am going to make a fortune in the next 24 months. There is absolutely no doubt in my mind. And the best part is, the whole time, I'm going to be helping people. I'm going to be helping solve their problems, and they're going to love me for it. They're going to love you for it. And frankly, the real estate business as an entire sort of sector of our economy doesn't work without investors. We're the ones that go in and clean up the mess after something like this or any other big disaster and bring the real estate market back to some state of normalcy. It can take years, but it is truly investors that do that. And now is your time to be part of it. I couldn't be more excited. And the trifecta, those 3 horses that you want to come across the finish line first, are motivated sellers, motivated buyers, and funding. So real quick, who am I? I've been full-time in their business since 1993. I started with Carlton Sheets' program back then. Some of you guys that have been around a while, you know who I mean. Carlton passed away last January. He was a very good friend of mine, and that was a tough time for me. But he had a big impact on me. And I've done hundreds and hundreds of deals over the years, every kind of deal you can possibly imagine, residential, commercial, you name it. I've been teaching proven strategies and creating powerful problem-solving tools since 1995. So I've always kind of had this desire to pay it forward or give back, whatever the term you prefer. And I got an opportunity to do that in the 90s and have simultaneously grown 2 businesses. And I'll tell you more about that in a minute. I've worked with tens of thousands of customers over the years. So, you know, I didn't just do 3 deals and decide I'm a guru. By the way, I'm not a guru, but I call those guys who think they're gurus who've done 3 deals, I call them new-rus. I've dealt with tens of thousands of customers over the years. I didn't just fall off the turnip truck. You know, we have a real business where we take care of real clients in a very real way every day. And that's important. I'm married to my wife, my first and last wife, Helen, since 1993. I've got 1 daughter. I never do a presentation without introducing them because you know the whole thing about you got to know your why. Well, there, right there on your screen is my why. Those 2 girls are the reason I am who I am and do what I do. And they are my why. My wife ought to get a medal for putting up with me for all these years. We got married in 93. So 93 was a pivotal year. I got married, moved 1,000 miles, quit my job, went into real estate full time, and thankfully had a brand new wife who was extraordinarily supportive and has been all along the way. And my daughter ought to get a medal because she's an amazing kid. And we'd have more than 1 child if we could. And believe me, it was not for lack of trying, but that's just how the chips fell. And she's amazing. She goes to Auburn University in Auburn, Alabama, although she spent the second half of the semester she just finished doing it online. She got a 4.0. She's a pilot. She has her pilot's license. She got it at 17. This kid is a chip off the old block. There's no doubt about it. And I'm super proud of her. Clearly, I'm passionate about my family and my business, and I've got some crazy hobbies. So the two things that I mentioned, so I have two businesses effectively. I mean, I have multiple entities, but there's the asset side where I buy and sell properties every day. I mean, literally, I have 2 or 3 properties under contract right now in the middle of this mess. And I have a tech data funding business that I've grown simultaneously. It's like I put 2 cakes in the oven at the same time back, 1, 2 years before the other. 93 started investing, 95 started creating problem-solving tools for me. And then those 2 cakes have risen, in the oven over the last, quarter of a century. And it's been a lot of fun along the way. I've changed a lot of lives, and I have done extraordinarily well, as you might imagine. So why is this training that you're here for so different? Well, first off, everything you're about to see is a result of more than 25 years of trial and error. And man, have I made a lot of mistakes. There's no doubt about it. And, they say that you don't learn as much from your wins as you do from your mistakes. And if that's the case, then boy, I know a lot. And I'm not a guru. I said that a minute ago. Frankly, I don't even really like that term. I'm not a guru. I do the business every day. I'm up to my eyeballs in deals in 4 different states. And so I am a real estate investor who, at the same time, continues to develop and perfect tools that initially I use in my business and then make available to our very small clientele once they pass muster with me. And I'm not easy to please. So just some quick examples. I know we want to get right into the meat, but just a couple quick examples. This is a house that I rehabbed recently, and I relearned 2 old lessons. One is, don't finish a rehab going into winter. People don't like to move in the north when it's snowing and their kids are in school. And don't do deals with friends if you want to remain friends. I had to learn that, but the numbers on that deal are phenomenal. I've owned and recently sold 10 storage facilities, had over 2,000 doors, and literally developed the storage market here in upstate New York where I live, and took it to another level, and then built it up, and then sold out to my partner and rang the bell massively. Here's another rehab deal. This one's down in Florida. I've got a place down there. This is near there. Quick $38,000 in about 90 days. This is the hotel I mentioned. I do own a hotel. It is closed right now, which is kind of sad, but we'll reopen and we'll be fine. But it was an interesting project to do in upstate New York. They say business-friendly upstate New York, tax-free upstate New York. Those are both lies. The way I see it is if Andrew Cuomo's lips are moving, he's lying. New York is tough, real tough. But a great legacy project, and it took me 3 years and banging my head against the wall, but I persevered. The thing is a cash cow when it's open, and will be a legacy investment for my daughter for many, many years to come. Here's a house that I recently wholesaled, a little cruddy little duplex. Went in it once, made a quick $8,000. Wholesaling, by the way, that is my favorite strategy after all these years and everything I've done. I absolutely prefer wholesaling over any other strategy, and I think that's worth mentioning considering how many of you guys are engaged in and certainly interested in wholesaling. Redeveloped a marina and then sold it. Had a billionaire come along and said, hey, I want to buy your marina. And I said, it's not for sale. And he said, well, here's what I'll give you. And I said, sold. It's for sale. And that was a fun project. We did a whole bunch of seawall work and upland pilings and had all that going on. It was a cool project. And that's in an opportunity zone, by the way, which is another interesting tax advantage. Here's a typical rehab, made a quick $34,000 on it in about 3 months. This is the kind of stuff, that I'm doing every day. I'm up to my eyeballs in it. I'm not, to say that I wake up in the morning thinking about the deals I'm working on today and go to sleep tonight thinking about the deals I'm working on tomorrow would be an accurate description of who you're listening to right now. I am a real estate investor first and foremost, have been for more than a quarter of a century. But, I came up the hard way. I mean, do you remember when the MLS looked like that? I mean, of course, it's online now and you've got all sorts of access to realtors, or if you're a realtor, but it was a book at one time, and you'd wait with bated breath for the next version. But, back then, just like now, I mean, let's face it, the technology and everything we have now, 25 years from now, will look as dumb as that book, I predict, considering how quickly things evolve. And as a tech guy, I'm keenly aware of that, and that's why my development team is constantly working on new products, improving what we have, better angles, better solutions, better algorithms. We follow a constant and never-ending improvement methodology. And so, back in those days, your Nokia 6160 was the bomb because it didn't flip. If you had a flip phone back then, well, you were a dinosaur. And then it went to 8260, and I had my Apple Macintosh computer. Well, clearly, now there's a better way, and that's what we're here to talk about. Now, the trifecta, again, those are the three things every real estate investor's got to have to be successful in the business, and there's a period that comes right after that, period. And so the first of those is motivated sellers or deals. And so on the trifecta, my little image there, that sits right at the top. That is key, because without motivated sellers, if you're not talking to motivated sellers, you're not going to be in the business very long. And the way we used to find those deals was, bandit signs that the code enforcement hate, and direct mail campaigns, although we still do some of that, scouring the MLS, searching Craigslist and other for sale by owner sites, bidding on auctions, and dealing with all the shenanigans going on there, or sealed auctions like foreclosure, HUD, VA. It still goes on, but there's a much better way. Driving neighborhoods, working with bird dogs. We still work with bird dogs to a little bit of an extent, and I'll explain that. Or just basically spending a ton of money on old school marketing activities. So what I'm going to present to you really almost completely eliminates the need for a marketing budget. Now, you're still going to have to contact sellers, and you may use a virtual assistant to help you with that, or you may engage in some direct mail campaigns as well, but it's nothing compared to what the marketing budget you'd have to have in the past in order to compete. So today, with the technology, you can be extraordinarily competitive, way ahead of the vast majority of your competition, and have a very, very small marketing budget. So what you're looking at on your screen is the old school way to do it. So not anymore. And in fact, now you've finally got off-market deals at your fingertips. Now, I want you to think about those two words right there, off-market deals. So when we talk about off-market deals, what that does is it separates us from the competition, because their head's in the MLS, and they're looking to talk to sellers who are overtly advertising or have listed their property for sale. And that's where the competition goes. That's where the low-hanging fruit is. We're going to go another direction and focus on off-market deals, giving us a huge advantage. And the tool you're going to use now to do that is the motivated seller data feed. Now, I'm a big data nut. I just love geeking out, or put my head into it, and I come up with all sorts of ways to do more deals in my business. And then we'll build out, a rough design of a tool, and I'll use it myself and perfect it, do some deals with it, go back to my development team and say, no, make it do this, that, make it do that, and drive them literally nuts. And then once we have it to a place where, like I said before, it passes my muster, then we'll roll it out to our very, very small clientele. And we are a boutique business. I don't have a big business. What I have is a great business, and there's a huge difference. In my mind, a great business is one where you not only treat your customers like family, but you get to know them. And a big business is where you need to use a support ticket system, and you just really never get to know your customers. And I guess maybe the older I get, the more I realize that life is about relationships. It really is. And I can tell you that one of the relationships that I cherish the most, one of the professional relationships that I cherish the most, is mine with you. I really do appreciate our relationship.
Oh man, Cam, I appreciate you so much, and I appreciate the respect and all that we've done together through the years, and that's why you're back. You've instructed. There's very few people that I actually allow to instruct my students, other than myself and my staff members. And you, my friend, are one of the good guys out there. And like us, everybody here at RE Mentor, you really care for your people, and I care about that.
And we discovered that a long time ago, and I think it's helped to shape a very meaningful relationship, and I appreciate it and you very much. So anyway, now a couple of the items in this webinar I'm going to tell you are actually, we're moving so fast that the webinar is a little behind the curve. So for example, we now offer 20 motivations, and so we're constantly improving on this. So what I mean by that is 20 different examples of how a seller can be motivated to sell their house. And the 20th, by the way, goes right here, and that is the sale date. So now we're able to give you the sale date and location on foreclosures. There is a tidal wave of foreclosures headed this way in probably, certainly the rest of this year. In fact, I literally this morning woke up to an email from one of my clients saying that she's talking to a seller, the first seller, who's saying, I have to sell my house because of this situation. So it's happening. And I'm going to put me down as someone who likes to make predictions. Here we go. I think 2021, we are going to see a foreclosure crisis that is going to exceed what we saw following the crash of 2008. That put me down on record as saying that. But there are a lot of things that motivate sellers: liens, judgments, bankruptcy, vacancy. That's a huge one. I've been all about vacant houses for more than 20 years. Foreclosure, certainly a big one. Inheritance, absentee. Those are landlords, landlords that need to sell their houses. I have bought a ton of houses over the years from burned out landlords. And I'll tell you right now, with this whole, you don't need to pay your rent thing going on,
Rent strike.
I think we're going to see a lot of burned out landlords. So the point is, you can select or deselect any of these and literally customize the system to what you're looking for specifically. You can drill down into very specifics, or you can zoom out and look at the big picture. And so what you're seeing right now is, I looked at two towns, and I'm using my pointer, so if you follow what I'm pointing at, I looked at two towns, Stuart and Port St. Lucie, Florida, as one search. And that's kind of an area that I'm familiar with, lived down there for years, had homes down there for years. And when I pulled the screenshot now, there were 6,322 houses, properties, with at least one motivation, 6,322. Now, what I'm going to make another prediction. When you're using this system after this webinar, I'm going to suggest you can save this search, name it whatever you want, and you can save your filter set too, however you've set up your filters, and I'll show you more of that in a second. But watch this number over here on the top right that I'm circling with my cursor. Watch this number grow. That number is going to balloon. So those are the motivations, and then you can filter on property type. If you're particularly interested in condos, deselect the others. Or if you want to look at multifamily properties today, deselect the others. Or whatever you want, select. Whatever you don't want, deselect. You want to look at houses with, no less than, say, 2 bedrooms or 3 bedrooms. Use our slider filters. Square footage, bathrooms, year built, assessed value, and then, of course, you can search by specific street name or address if you choose. Then we have ownership filters. So maybe today you want to look at bank-owned properties, the REOs that banks own, or entity-owned, owned by LLCs and corporations, or privately owned by John and Linda Smith. And you can filter that as well. Just say, for example, you want to look, and this is kind of a common search for me. I want to see vacant houses where notice of default has been filed that are single family, right? So I'm deselecting, I'm sort of giving you a sample filter set, right? That are privately owned and that have been owned for at least the last, say, 5 years. That's a particular filter set that I like. Here's another one. Absentee owners who have owned their homes for more than 7 years, who live in another state or at least 500 miles away. We have distance filters as well. So you can literally get that specific. Now, you might say, well, that sounds, complicated. Well, it doesn't have to be. You can just look at the big picture. But once you start to get a sense for what you like to focus on, and the particular types of sellers and their motivations that really sort of suit you, now you create filter sets that are unique to you. So you can customize the system and then save that filter set. So maybe I save a filter set for, the types of deals that I like, and I go and apply it to Chattanooga, Tennessee, because I want to do this business virtually. Now, that's something that we haven't talked about yet. The beauty of wholesaling houses is that you can, in particular with technology, and in particular now, because the pandemic has forced real estate really to become a virtual business where in the past it was not. You can literally sit at your desk and wholesale houses anywhere in the USA. So understand that when you have access to our data tools like this, you have access to the entire USA. Now you might say, well, why would I want that? Well, because I'm going to not only suggest, I'm going to nudge you. I'm going to kind of gently, friendly push you to be an investor in other markets than just your backyard. And for several good reasons. Number one is diversification, right? And that's important in any kind of investment. But how about this one? Every market you invest in, whether it's South Florida or Detroit, Michigan, or Los Angeles, California, every market that you invest in has its own little idiosyncrasies, has its sort of customary documents and the way closing costs are paid and certain things that make it unique. And when you work in different markets, you become a much smarter, much deeper, much more well-rounded investor, one who is going to remain, who's building a business. That's the thing. That's the key. One who's building a business and not, necessarily doing this as a hobby. You can certainly do this as a hobby, but if your goal is to really build a business, then I strongly recommend you be in multiple markets. Now, another part of this is what we call motivation stacking. So I'm the architect of this, but my developers obviously wrote all the code. And by the way, they're in my office in the US. We do not outsource any of our client support or development or anything in my business. It's all done here in America. American people working American jobs, making American dollars. We do not offshore any part of our business. And I think that's worth noting. So when I designed this, I brainstormed it. I'm sort of the mental architect of this. I wanted to follow a concept that I sort of dreamt up, I call motivation stacking. And so here's what I mean. When you switch your view to both, right? We were looking at the map view there and then at the filters over here. So I switched to both view. Now I'm looking at the map and I'm looking at the houses in the order of the most motivations. So the tallest stack of motivations is the first thing we see. So this particular person on this particular house has five motivations. Now, the reason we do this is because I wanted it, but the reasoning behind it is then you're only working with the most motivated, the most likely sellers so that you are, best using your time, your energy, and your resources, right? So let's put the best opportunities in front of you first. And the concept of motivation stacking sort of comes from that old cliche saying, well, that was the straw that broke the camel's back, right? Well, the more motivations there are on this homeowner's back, the greater the likelihood they're going to want to sell. And here's a quick pro tip. Don't tell the seller that you know anything about their motivations. Let it come out in conversation. You ever been around somebody who, this happened to me the other day and I thought about it. Yeah, I own all kinds of properties around here, and there's a guy who I met because I needed him to mow the lawn at a property that I lost my lawn guy, and I brought this guy over there. So we're sitting around talking, and this sucks because we're still, shut down here in New York, and yada yada. And then he starts saying, oh yeah, I see your daughter's doing this, and your wife's doing that, and you're doing this and doing that, and I'm like, whoa, dude, you're too familiar. And I was so turned off by it, I couldn't get in my car and get away from him. It made me sick. I mean, look, if you are so observant and you're watching what my wife and daughter and I are doing, and then you have the gall to tell me about that, you're not my friend, and I don't want to be around you. Same thing here. Don't tell the seller you know anything about their motivations. Let that come out in conversation. Let them sort of reveal that to you. What you know is yours to know, but let it come out in conversation. That right there is about a 25-year piece of advice. All right, so back to the system here. I'm looking at the map. I'm zoomed in on Port St. Lucie, and I said, okay, let's take a look at this house right here, because that's a neighborhood that I'm familiar with, south of Lakehurst there. All right, so we look at the detail, and we get the picture from Google Photos. We see the motivation influences. Here are the bricks or the stack, right? So there's a lien on the house, an old lien, and then it's been vacant for quite a while, and it's been absentee since, well, as we scroll down, you'll see since this person bought the house, they've never lived in it. So clearly it's a rental and it's vacant. And the local lien, by the way, is property taxes. So you can sort on property tax liens if you'd like and just focus on folks that are dealing with that. That's a great little mini data set of motivated sellers to go after. Now, and this is what's phenomenal right now, and we see this, and my team shares this information with me with every upload. So we're constantly updating this data on there's like 9 different data sources going into this. Some of it's updated daily, some of it's updated weekly, but I'm getting updates all the time. And right now there are 5.7 million off-market properties with, at least in this case, because I said, whoa, that's too many, because they said it's all 47 million, and I said, wait, how could it be so many? Oh, well, 42 million are absentee owners. All right, well, take that out, or give me the number where there's at least 2 motivations, and it's 5.7 million right now. Now, there's an awful lot of absentee owners out there because of rental properties. In fact, if you own a rental property, to that property, you are an absentee owner by definition. So 5.7 million opportunities across the USA right now, and that number is going to balloon. Watch what happens over the next 12 to 18 months. It's going to be incredible. So I picked some random markets, don't know where you live, so just sort of, hunted around and said, okay, show me the city of St. Louis, Missouri, 37,356 houses with motivations. Again, excluding absentee, 37,000. And what I did was a search on Noma County, Oregon, 8,100 results, 8,100. So wherever you're looking in the US, wherever you live, this system becomes your sort of magnifying glass that allows you to go and find the opportunities that no one else can. Now, you can search down to the street level, including drawing on the map. This was another big deal. So one way you can search is on a radius. So you can you choose the radius search and then click the map right here, and it'll automatically give you a 2-mile radius, and then you can drag that out and make it a much bigger radius, or drag it in, make it much smaller. So that's a radius search on any area you choose. And that's interesting. But what I wanted, and this was where this interface became really interesting and high tech, is I wanted to be able to draw on the map. This is what we call our polygon drawing tool. So I clicked here, 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 here to sort of surround this particular neighborhood that I'm familiar with. So then we zoom in, and there are 61 houses with motivations in this neighborhood. What that tells me is exactly what's going on in that neighborhood that I'm familiar with. So you can go at this 2 ways, and I'll show you our heat maps in a second. You could go to market and say, tell me where the opportunities are, and I'll show you that. And then once you know a market a little better, you can say, show me the opportunities in this neighborhood because I really, really like this neighborhood. And then what you can do is set up motivation or opportunity alerts that are sent to you via email or text. And you can do that, if you'd like, right down to the street level. So you could draw a radius and have the system send you a text to say, there's a new motivation on the house at 123 Elm Street, or there's a new house with a motivation within that area, and you can name it, that search whatever you want. It might be the Merlin Park subdivision, you could call it, right? So now what's happening is the system is literally working for you 24/7 and alerting you. So you don't have to have your head in the system, every day or all day. That's not necessary. And you don't have to pay someone else, although you might choose to if you're, not a technical, if you're computer challenged, maybe you have a virtual assistant doing this for you. That's fine. But the point is that the system will literally update you when there's a new opportunity, and you can take it down to the street level. So look at this. This is the polygon tool again. I clicked here, 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 and here. And what I'm doing is I'm watching Southwest Sutter Street. This is a street that I'm familiar with. There are currently 3 houses with results. And then what I can do is up here, up in the corner here with this bell, is I can create or save an alert. So if a new motivation comes up on that street, I hear about it. And that is what we call superior market intelligence, or another term we like to use is data-driven intelligence. So whichever of those gets you excited. Now we've got, of course, extensive property and owner information providing you, again, unprecedented intelligence, and the system will even tell you when the owner has multiple properties and where they are, and then if there's multiple properties with motivations. I'll show you that. So here we are back to our house on Empire Street. All right, so here's the owner's information. And by the way, a new update that didn't make it into this webinar, we'll tell you right here if this is a landline or if it is a mobile phone number or if it's a VoIP line. Okay, VoIP is if you have like Time Warner cable and you have your telephone through Time Warner. That's
Hey, Kim, about a week ago, I spent some time playing around with the platform. I was doing searches in my market, and I found that over 80 to 85% of the properties had phone numbers. And this is the part that gets me excited because we'll talk about this in more detail, but as you know, the more experienced wholesalers who are looking to scale can use this. You haven't even gotten to the direct mail engine inside of it yet. And yeah, the scaled up version of doing marketing for your wholesale business is doing large campaigns focused mainly on postcards and letters. But if you're just getting started, you can go into the system, find people with the most motivations, pick up the phone and start dialing. You don't even have to do direct mail. But we'll talk about the cost of data and what this can allow you to do if you want to do direct mail in your business. This is going to be the most affordable and highest quality data source for direct mail leads and fulfillment. But if you're not at the point where you're ready to do direct mail to 1,000, 2,000, or 5,000 leads, then you can just plug into the system, start dialing without spending any additional money. So to me, this is like a 1-2 punch. If you're a newbie, boom, you just get your feet wet and you start calling the most motivated sellers in the market. And if you're ready to scale or you have a marketing budget, this is a no-brainer.
Yeah, none of what I'm showing you costs anything extra, obviously. And by the way, to your point about a marketing budget, I tried to make that point before that, when you have a tool like this, you can avoid having to need a huge marketing budget. And I'm kind of getting ahead of myself, but naturally we provide telephone scripts with this program, so you don't have to dream up what to say or ask. We'll provide you with a script. Now, you're clearly not going to want to read it when you're talking to someone on the phone, but at least it gives you a sort of framework to follow, and you can become very, very good on the phone very, very quickly. Or if you're someone who says, gee, I really don't want to call sellers, well, then don't. Have a virtual assistant do that for you. And just have them ask one simple question. Would you be interested in a cash offer? If the answer is yes, well, then that's when you talk to them. And if the answer is no, well, then move on. And by the way, I'm really hot on virtual assistants because I learned a long time ago that the only way you can grow a real business is to delegate. You can't do everything. And so virtual assistants become a way to delegate the stuff that doesn't excite you, that isn't your passion, or, focus on your strengths and delegate your weaknesses, right? So there's a component to this that I'm going to actually provide a pre-trained on these tools virtual assistant for your folks when they get on board. So if they want to delegate, they can begin doing that immediately. And we'll talk more about that. Now, another thing is the skip trace. All right, so we've been in the skip trace business since 2002. There's nobody better at it than us. And all our tools work together. They all talk to each other. So you can literally order a skip trace right from within the system. So, for example, if there is no phone number, if we're not able to get you phone numbers, and believe me, we're going to do our best, or, for example, if the phone number happens to be disconnected or something, which happens because there's no perfect data set out there, you can perform a basic skip trace right here, have the results instantaneously, no submitting and waiting for days for it to come back, none of that. Instantaneous results, and literally pennies to do that. And then when the situation warrants it, when that seller is really off the grid missing, well, then we have a premium skip trace report that you can use that will, and by the way, I'm not supposed to say this, but if you're ever inclined, run one of these premium skip trace reports on yourself. Oh boy, you will be shocked at what is out there and what we're able to find. So anyway, appreciate your input there on the telephone number. So what we have is seller information, right? That's what we need. We need contact information for the seller. And by the way, when you do the skip trace, that's where we're able to provide you with email addresses as well. So there again, you can avoid a direct mail campaign that might cost, depending on if you're doing postcards or yellow letters or whatever. I mean, they could be upwards of $1 or more per address. Well, a skip trace is a few cents, and you get email addresses. Now you do an email campaign, and you can do that, very, very easily at virtually no cost. So then property information, okay? And, there are 3,200 counties in the U.S. Every county is a little different. Some, report a little differently, but here we've got bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage, lot size. the assessed value, the year built, it's classified as a single family residential property. Here's the parcel number and the school district. Now, I know some of your folks are a little like me in that they're school district freaks. So if you're looking at a house that's on the border of a school district and it's in the one you don't like, you want to know that. And if it's in the school district you do like, for whatever your reasons, you do want to know that. And that's also very unique to the data we provide. I've not seen that anywhere else out there. Then we're able to provide transaction information. So when it was last sold, for how much, and then transaction and loan history. So you can expand on these and get the debt stack is what some people refer to it. And you can see, hey, is there a mortgage on this house? Yes. When was it recorded? How much was it? Is it a HELOC? Was it a purchase money mortgage? You can really start to see the story and get a good sense for the seller's situation, and then let it all come out in conversation. That's the key. So going back to what I mentioned before, remember I said multiple properties with motivation. So see this little gear over here, right? Well, that indicates to you that this particular seller owns multiple properties with motivations. All right. So here we've zoomed in on that. And this particular property is it's a condo. Clearly it's behind this fence, but it's in foreclosure. There's a homeowners association lien and the owner's absentee, but nearby. And then we scroll down to the bottom, and this is where we'll indicate if the owner has additional properties that we've located, whether there's motivations or not. That little gear, this right here, we indicate with a little exclamation point in it, we indicate that to say, hey, not only does this seller have additional properties, but in this case, he has additional properties with motivations. And by the way, I got to skip forward to this. I want to get to this pro tip. Always ask, do you have other properties you need to sell? I've been asking that question for a quarter of a century, and I don't think I could count without going to a file cabinet and doing significant research how many times I have bought more than one house from the same seller. And let me tell you, there are a lot of folks who have built, small, relatively speaking, small rental portfolios over the last, say, decade, since, the 2008, 2010 timeframe, who are now in a place where they want to sell all those houses because they're in foreclosure or they're vacant or they've got property tax liens. This kind of superior intelligence in any market is so valuable to you. So you're going to see that little gear and you're going to want to act on it. All right, so here's a quick little video where I'm scrolling through, right? So this is a house with 3 motivations. There's a tax lien, it's vacant, absentee. There's the phone number, the address for the owner, and then the specifics about the property. And I just, thought this was just another interesting one to randomly go through. There's what they paid for it in 1998. The transaction history, it's rather short. There's where it expands. And you can see there was a loan on a 20-year term that was originated when they bought the house. So that's a, purchase money mortgage. And you could extrapolate what they owe on that. That's actually the transfer when they bought it. And they have, look at this. This particular owner has 5 other properties, 2 of which with motivations, or actually more than 5 properties, but 2 of them have additional motivations. So there's a seller with a small portfolio of rental properties that's in trouble. Does that sound like an opportunity? And listen, if you're going to wholesale these houses, well, then the more the better. Guys, think of wholesaling as it's a numbers game. Certainly real estate is a numbers game, but wholesaling is something we want to do volume. The more houses we can wholesale, the greater our income, the greater opportunities we're going to come across. And here's my prediction. If you're new to the business, you'll do what I did when I started. You'll start wholesaling or rehabbing, which is what I started with. And then you'll come across houses and you'll be like, whoa, I got to keep this one. This is so sweet. This is the perfect rental property. I'm going to start building a rental portfolio. Or you're just going to, it's the perfect place to launch from, wholesaling is, and it's the perfect place to grow a real business out of it. It's exactly what I did, and 25 years later, I'm sitting in front of you in a position I never thought I would be in my life 25 years ago, and in a position with what's going on in the world right now that, I clearly created my own economy and what's amounted to my own stimulus plan, and that's what I want to encourage you to do. So maybe this particular disaster that we're dealing with right now, this COVID-19 thing, maybe you're in a tough spot right now. A lot of people are, and frankly, I've got a hotel that's closed. But if you're in a tough spot, this is the time to say, this is the last time we're going to have a problem and I'm going to be in a tough spot. The next time we have a problem, I'm going to have already built my own economy. I'm going to have myself in a financial position where I can roll over and look at my wife or my husband and say, we're going to be fine, honey, because I did what I did. And that the doing that I'm referring to starts right now. It starts today. If you're feeling uncertain, the best way to crush that is by taking action. There's no doubt about it. So I talked about the heat maps, and you can literally look at any area you want, a town, a zip code, a county, a city, whatever you want, and see at a glance, and the data and then how it's presented to you in this graphical interface literally tells you at a glance where the opportunities are within this search. So let's say you want to expand into a new market, or let's say you're brand new and you don't even really know where the opportunities are in your own market. Well, go to the heat maps. All of our tools, our data tools, have heat maps. And what this does is it'll save you an enormous amount of time. Think about it. If you wanted to start new or expand into another market, it might take you months to figure out what this heat map is telling you in seconds. You'd have to talk to realtors and go to open houses and drive neighborhoods and join the local REIA and talk to lenders and talk to buyers and talk to sellers and get a sense, for where the activity is, or look at the heat map.
Cam, I'm excited about this. This is awesome. It answers so many questions. Are there motivated sellers? Are there a lot of cash buyers active? Which part of the city or county should I focus on? I mean, this is crazy. It's a shortcut to getting all that important data. So yeah, I get excited about this stuff too.
All right, I can see why. Clearly, I do too. And by the way, you can, just by selecting cash buyers, you can change the heat map to show you where the cash buyers are. And now you can start to see where the areas overlap. So you've got the motivation and the buyers in the same neighborhoods. Now you know where to be wholesaling because you've got the deals and the buyers. And then if you're interested, you can see where private lenders are lending within this. And it'll give you the count too. And by the way, when it comes to choosing a market, you might find that there's very little cash buyer activity in a sparsely populated area. And I think the takeaway from that is that's not a good area to wholesale. If there aren't cash buyers buying in a particular area, then don't wholesale there. From where I'm sitting right now, I live in, by some measures, they refer to it in the country songs, BFE, right? Because we live where we choose to live for good reasons. But there's an awful lot of areas around me where wholesaling just doesn't work because cash buyers aren't there. They're not buying there. But I can see where they are. So I don't go wasting my time and spinning my wheels. And that's the key. So clearly there is a mobile version of this tool. And what I wanted, and this was very important to me for the mobile version, was the ability to center yourself on the map and see the motivated seller houses around you. So you could be traveling at your mom's house or your kids, whatever, you're someplace and you think, I wonder what it's like here. And you whip out your phone, you log in, and hit that little arrow right there that's shaped an awful lot like a cursor, and it'll center you on the map and show you the houses with motivations around you, literally in real time. And I think that's pretty slick. And that was something that was very important to me that I wanted. I mentioned we update the system on a regular basis. I mean, we've got 7 or 8 different data sources coming in. We're, the phone numbers, that's a whole process and all of that. And we're updating this on a daily or weekly basis, but suffice to say that constantly updated with new information, and it is coming directly from public record. However, it does involve some very complex algorithms that we've developed over the years, and we continue to refine and perfect, where we're able to triangulate, okay, this house with this situation, let's go check this, and then we discover that. And it's that kind of data science that really makes us different. Data is not data. There's a whole concept of within, if you're a data geek, you've heard the term data hygiene. How clean is the data? How well, how carefully, how prudently do you triangulate the data? How well written are your algorithms? The bottom line is we've been creating data tools for 10 years or longer, and I have the same team of developers with me now that I started with, and we have grown as a team immensely over those years. And the best part of it is the sort of internal tribal knowledge that we have developed and evolved over those 10 years, we've retained because I pay my team so well. They're still with me. And so I think that's important for you to know. We provide unmatched support. I mentioned before, we do not outsource it. We don't use a support ticket system. And so when you're logged into the system, up here is a little C, that's for me. So you click that, and right here is where you can fire up a live chat with my team. You can call us, email us. And by the way, if you do a live chat, we have a tool where if you allow it, it'll allow my team to see what page you're on and even share your screen and get your questions answered and show you how to really optimize this tool. And I'm here to tell you, my support team is phenomenal. They know these tools, and I'm semi-reluctant to say this, because of my, I guess, ego, but I'm going to say it because I think it's important to you. My team of client support, my client support team, they know these tools better than I do because they're in them every day, all the way in deep with our clients, helping them to get the most out of them. We're open from 8:30 in the morning till 8 at night Eastern time. That's during the week, Monday through Friday. And then on the weekends, we do email support. So we're available to you 7 days a week. And by the way, one of the special bonuses that I normally don't ever include with this is we're going to do a, sort of a onboarding session. So when you get on board with this program, we're going to do a special onboarding live demo Q&A session so that you take full advantage of this and really hit the ground running. Now, normally, we've got all kinds of videos and trainings within the system, but we're going to do this live, and we're going to actually take your questions, and it's going to be super valuable. That's part of our unmatched support. And then this is that direct mail engine that it's like a click to send system within the Motivated Seller data feed. We have templated postcards, letters, the yellow letter. You can edit those in any way you like. You can import your own template, and you can literally do a direct mail campaign with a few clicks from within the system at cost. This is not a profit center for us. We have a direct mail company we've been working with for over 12 years. We've sent myself and our clients, I don't know, 10 or 20 million mail pieces. We have really good pricing. And so you don't need to go outside to use another mail source. You certainly can. You can export, and we'll talk more about that in a minute. But the point is, you don't have to leave the system to do a direct mail campaign. You could be sitting somewhere, relaxing and just perusing and create a list of leads that are of interest to you and do a direct mail campaign with a few clicks and then call it done. You're there. You've done what you needed to do. Keeps it simple. One login gets you right exactly what you need. And I mentioned this before, that we have marketing scripts and marketing tools that are available to you within the system that are very specific to messaging that's important and effective, tried and true, tested messaging to speak to communicate with motivated sellers. So super excited about this tool. I bet you are too. I will point out, though, that, going back to that old way, new way concept, well, here's the old way, right? This poor old panhandler.
Cam, that's my grandpa.
I wondered. He looks just like you.
Yeah, right. But really quick, I think you're being too modest about how powerful this is. You can literally log in, run a search, click a few buttons, and a direct mail campaign is already out the door. And it doesn't have to be like 1,000-piece direct mail campaign either. It could be 50 pieces or 100 pieces, right? That's why I think you're being too modest about how awesome this is. You can literally be sitting on your front porch, log in within 30 minutes inside of the same system with the leads that you just found. You can be direct mailing them, you can be calling them, and you can be doing both.
That's right. Or you could export a list and send it to your VA and have your VA call them. And by the way, to your point, you could be sitting on your front porch doing deals in a town 500 miles away without ever having to go there.
Exactly.
So that's the old way. And then the new way, we're not doing that anymore. Here's the new way. That's how we're going to go about this. And there's a big difference. So normally the motivated seller data feed comes with a hefty monthly fee. And I mean, after all, data is very expensive, but I also know that most folks don't like monthly expenses, monthly fees, monthly subscriptions. I get that. So what I've done here is I'm going to include this in the program you're evaluating right now for 1 full year of unlimited access. So this came from Deborah Hawley in Pennsylvania, sweet gal. She's a customer, said, I am both thrilled by and grateful for my affiliation and alignment with CAM's organization, complete with its vast array of tools and training. It was one of the smartest decisions that I've ever made in my young real estate investment career. My membership has been paid for several times over by a $41,000 deal. That was her net profit, by the way, that I closed with CAM's tools, including his no fee funding. When you hear that, don't disconnect, because I'm just about to explain to you how and why that's possible. All right, it's not too good to be true, honestly. All right, so we talked about the trifecta, right? The 3 things every real estate investor's got to have to be successful in the business, especially now, given the pandemic and everything we're dealing with and the bonanza of opportunity that's going to follow. Number 1, of course, is deals. We've got to have motivated sellers, and we're going to have that with the motivated seller data feed. So there it is on that trifecta image, okay? Next, let's talk about buyers, right? We need deals, buyers, and funding. Well, now we're on to buyers. And I want to tell you that this is going to be an interesting part of the way the real estate market evolves over the next 12 to 18 months. I'm sure you'd agree, if you've been following the real estate business prior to the pandemic, that it was a very, very strong seller's market. Sellers ruled the roost, and it was hard to find motivated sellers. Well, I think that's going to change, and I think it's going to be harder to find buyers going forward. And I suspect that makes sense to you. And so this becomes extremely important. So now we've got to have buyers to sell these houses to. And let me ask you a question. What do you suppose are the best type of buyers when we're selling houses? Well, clearly, we love cash buyers. Cash buyers are by far the best because they're the no-hassle buyers. They're not using a lender. They close quickly, they buy again and again, and as you've learned about wholesaling, you know, one good rehabber, landlord, buyer, and you could sell that person who knows how many properties. So they come back and buy from you again and again, and deals don't fall out when it's the cash buyer that you're dealing with. But I will caution you that this can be a place where you waste a ton of time and money. They can be time consuming and expensive to identify, but not anymore. So you might imagine that I created a tool to solve this problem, and it's called the cash buyer data feed. So I just happen to love that term data feed because that's what we do. We're constantly updating this, and we're feeding you with new opportunities. And so I've kind of hovered around that term data feed. This particular tool is called the cash buyer data feed. And because that's what you get, unlimited access to constantly updated cash buyers in your town and all across the USA for the reasons we've stated. I mean, virtual wholesaling, you got to have buyers wherever you're doing deals. You can search it freely, set up specific alerts for new buyers. Like we talked about, those alerts let the system do the monitoring for you. Easily see repeat buyers, and I'll show you that in a minute. So those are the real players in the marketplace. And by the way, not only that, but you'll be able to see what they're buying, what they're paying, where they're buying, and you can start to see their buying patterns. And then what comes into play, and this is something worth writing down, write this down. A friend of mine who's very wise, who unfortunately is no longer with us, I knew him for real well for a lot of years. His name was REI. He used to say that it's easier to find a house for a buyer than it is to find a buyer for a house. Now, you might think that's counterintuitive, right? Let me say it again. It's easier to find a house for a buyer, especially when you know what they want, and that's really what I'm getting at here, than it is to find a buyer for a house. So with the cash buyer data feed, you can go and see who's buying what, where, and for how much. It's all right there in front of you, as easy as pie. And if you've ever heard of the term reverse wholesaling, it's not a term that I've really used much, if ever, but I've heard it bantered around. And basically what reverse wholesaling is, find out what the buyer wants and go get it for him or her. That's what it is. And of course, we've got heat maps here to give you the superior market intelligence, and I'll show you all of that. So you're going to get those cash buyers' contact information, including for many of them their phone numbers. So we're providing you with the same level of contact information. We've got push button direct mail campaigns here. Now this is different messaging to a different recipient, and then marketing tools and scripts that are different messaging to a different audience. So here we're talking about cash buyers. So we need to speak to them in terms that they understand and that get them excited. And that's exactly what our direct mail pieces that are proven and templated in here for you, just like the other tool. You can edit them if you want. You can import your own letter or postcard. And the marketing scripts and tools and things that are part of this are all, Dan Kennedy used to say, he'd say, match your message to your market. So here we need to match our messaging to cash buyers. And then all of this is available with one login in our simple dashboard environment. You log in once, and there's everything right in front of you. All right, so here's what it looks like. Clearly, we like pinning and mapping. That's something that I think is important. I did a quick search on the zip code 63134 on a 10-mile radius. Okay, so a 10-mile radius on 63134, which happens to be St. Louis, and I found 1,626 cash buyers within a 10-mile radius of the geographic epicenter, as my programming team calls it, of the zip code 63134. And of course, we've got filters here so that, let's say you have a house, it's a 3-2, 1,100 square feet on the northwest side of town, and you want to go find buyers who are buying those types of houses. Well, you can do that right here. And we utilize the filters, and then your filter sets you can save. It's kind of nice to be able to save a filter set so you don't have to go and say, well, what was it again? I forget. I can't remember. Was it this? Was it that? You save it, name it, and now you're really leveraging the tools. And then here we can take out or leave in buyers, cash buyers that have made multiple transactions, or we can take out or leave in cash buyers who've made one transaction. And by the way, this data set goes back 12 months. So the activity you see in here, it could be as recent as, just in the last few days, but could also go back 12 months. And here's why I think that's important. This is a little strategy for you, a look into my mind. We just finished up with an unprecedented seller's market. And I know for a fact there are cash buyers who are hungry and willing to buy, but who haven't in a while because the market was so darn tight. And so what I don't want to do is have maybe, say, 3 months of data in here, and then that buyer who hasn't bought a house in 6 months, but who's just as eager as ever, doesn't show up. So this data set is 12 months, and I think that's important to note. And then take a look right here. I'm the yellow star and the green star. So what I did was I went up and I changed the filter to just look at multiple transactions. So yellow star transactions are where this particular cash buyer, we found between 2, meaning more than one, certainly 2 and 4, less than 5. So between 2 and 4 transactions in the last 12 months. And then a green star is 5 or more transactions in the last 12 months. So I randomly picked this one. This was a yellow star, 4 transactions, company called Foremost Properties. They're out of Quincy, Illinois. And remember, this is St. Louis, so it's an out-of-state buyer. And here are the houses that they bought. Now, this one, the purchase price isn't reported. NR means not reported. And, county tax assessors and recorders' offices are a little funny. But, generally, we're able to get you whatever they're providing. And so the point is here, you can click this little tab right here and see the detail of the house. So how many bedrooms and bathrooms and how many square feet and all that stuff, so you can begin to see or build a profile of these buyers. So you might say, okay, well, Foremost is looking for houses in this price range, in this part of town that are this many bedrooms and bathrooms. All right. So then I went and looked at this one where there are 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 transactions. Well, I guess it said it right there, didn't it? 10 transactions in the last 12 months. This is called Real Estate Rehab LLC. Well, there's an original name, huh? And they're in St. Louis, and they're buying houses in St. Louis, and we can click through and look at them, and we can begin to sort of develop a profile for them. And now, when we know what they want, we can go find that for them. That's the whole concept. easier to find a house for a buyer than it is to find a buyer for a house. And then there's the heat maps. Okay, so this happens to be St. Louis County, right? You can clearly see where the opportunity is. The county, obviously, and I could zoom out on the map, but the county is large. And down on the south side of the county, there's not a whole lot of cash transactions going on. There's some. And oh, by the way, our heat maps, I didn't mention this before, they work like weather radar, right? So green means low or light intensity, yellow is moderate intensity, and red is high or heavy intensity. So you can see these areas, these little pockets of intense cash buyer activity. And now you know exactly where to go. And if you wanted to look at the city of St. Louis, you could do that, and it would be this area. Or if you wanted to look at whatever county this is over here, I mean, clearly you can do that. So again, superior market intelligence giving you the opportunity to go and wholesale houses anywhere you want. And by the way, this program is not just for wholesaling. Make no mistake about it. If you want to buy and hold, you want to rehab, you need access to motivated sellers and all the different tools. And what I have found for me is every house that I come across, I look at it and I say, okay, what's the best exit strategy for this house? Now, my favorite is the wholesale, so I'm biased in that way. I tend to want to wholesale, but there are some cases where I'm like, no, I got to rehab that house. To fix it will be too easy. I'll make a ton of money on it. That one, I can't just wholesale it. Or I want to hold that house. It's a perfect rental house. You know, the rent to value ratio is just right and all of that. So what I'm trying to get across is that this program is not just for wholesalers. Okay, so like the motivated seller data feed, this would come normally with a hefty monthly fee, but I'm waiving that. We're not doing that. I don't want to load you down with monthly fees. Like I said before, nobody likes those. And we're going to include 1 full year of unlimited access. So now you have access to those buyers as we evolve into a buyer's market where buyers are going to be a little harder and scarcer, and you now have a tool to help you locate those buyers, and they're verified because this is coming from public record, so you don't have to do all the hard work of finding those buyers. Here they are handed to you on a silver platter. And Sean would certainly agree with what I'm saying. He had 83 properties that he decided he wanted to sell. I just got this from him recently, and I did some research online, found Cam and the cash buyer data feed, signed up, and marketed hard to the cash buyers and sold them all. 83 houses. Good timing, Sean, right before the pandemic. Over the course of 4 months, held the properties for 4 years, and between the cash flow and the sales, I profited $2.1 million. I highly recommend this program to anyone. Thank you for sending that, Sean, and I look forward to you guys sending me a similar message in the future. Okay, so now 3 things. We're talking about them, the trifecta. We got deals, we got buyers covered. We got the motivated seller data feed, the cash buyer data feed. So those 2 corners are covered. The last one is funding. This is a big deal. We've got to have it to complete the trifecta. And so with this program, I'm going to include my no fee, same day, next day transactional funding. And now, and this is new, up to $1 million per transaction. So I'll sort of pre-frame this. You're going to get unlimited access to my same day, next day transactional funding and proof of funds. We're going to talk about that on an unlimited number of transactions up to a maximum on any one of those transactions of $1 million. So if you are in an expensive market, you're covered. If you're in an inexpensive market, you're covered. And it's important to understand that that is a new maximum that I'm excited to offer to you here. So you might be saying, hold on a minute there, Cam. Whoa, hold up. Why on earth would you fund my deals without charging any fees? Well, I'll explain to you exactly why. Because of the Dodd-Frank Act. Yes, it's still out there. It's an Obama-era law that came after the collapse of 2008. It was written and sponsored by these 2 guys. Don't they look like a couple of guys you just want to sit down and have a beer with? Just look at them. Don't they look friendly and fun? And all I can say about these guys, this is Barney Frank on the left and Chris Dodd on the right, Dodd-Frank. All I can say is thank the Lord they're both retired. You know, without getting political on you, I will say this. This guy right here, Barney Frank, he had more to do with the housing collapse of 2008 than any other single human being. And then he teamed up with his buddy from Connecticut, And they wrote the Dodd-Frank Act to punish the banks for doing what he forced them to do. But that's a whole nother story. Well, see, I read the Dodd-Frank Act, and most of it really didn't apply to what I'm doing, where we're funding deals for our clients. But there was one part that did. I didn't offer no fee funding at the time. At the time, I charged 2 points, give or take, depending on how long the money was in use. But, and that's a common practice, to charge 2 points. And I never got a complaint from any of our clients. They were happy to pay me 2 points for the privilege of using the money. And not only that, but we work with your closing agent and make sure they're all in line, and we'll slap them around if they need it. So that's what we did. Well, when I read the Dodd-Frank Act, there was a part in there about lenders overcharging their borrowers. And I thought, well, we don't do that. And then a friend of mine said, well, what do you charge? And I said, well, 2 points for same-day transactional funding. He said, oh, 2% for the use of the money for a day. Have you tried annualizing that? And I was like, oh my gosh. I about freaked out. And then I thought, no, but I can't stop doing it, because then my clients, I'll leave them hanging. And so I got creative. I basically picked myself up off the floor and I got creative. And here's what I came up with. This is the why, and the how I'm going to explain in a minute. I said to myself, okay, if I charge you nothing to fund your deal, no one can ever accuse me of charging you too much. So I just need to reverse engineer a way to charge you nothing. I'll come back to that. So here's an example. So this is under the old model where we charge 2 points. So you've got the customer. We have funded so many deals over the years. I mean, I've got like spreadsheets full of them. It's amazing how many deals we've funded, and the millions and millions and millions of dollars we've watched our clients make, because we see both closing statements. We know exactly how much you make, which is really interesting to watch. So the clients over here on the left, where the property was located, and then the amount we funded and what the client made in net profit. We see that. Well, under the old model, there was also a funding fee. And so, that ran roughly 2%. And this would be your net profit after a funding fee to us. Well, now under the new model, there is no funding fee. And that, in fact, is additional profit. So it makes you more profitable because you're not paying fees for the use of your funding. And by the way, there's a lot of people who, endeavor to be in real estate. They desire to be in real estate, but then they get turned off by hard money and big fees and big expenses. And I've taken that off the table for you. I've done that. And so it's a game changer for sure. And by the way, speaking of a game changer, Bruce Wall is a client of ours, and I know Bruce, and his wife, bless her soul, was the biggest critic. She was mad. He'd go and buy another real estate program, and he'd come home and she'd be mad as a hornet because he hadn't done anything yet, and it really had nothing to show for it, which, a lot of folks find themselves in that place. Well, this deal, we got closed for him. We helped him. We worked with the title agents on both sides of the transaction, and he walked away with over 40 grand in profit. And when he got home that night, his wife, who was a big, negative Nelly, turned into his biggest cheerleader instantly. And then Eloise, this is something that I really relate to this because I have a daughter. And she's in college, but she hasn't been there long, and she just, got out of high school. So I understand this dilemma. Eloise's daughter was going to the prom, and Eloise's daughter wanted this beautiful dress that was expensive, and Eloise unfortunately had found herself in a position where she had to tell her daughter, no, I can't afford that dress, which as the daughter would be extremely upsetting, but as the mother would be extremely humiliating. Think about that. Well, she got this deal closed with our help and our funding. She made just shy of $11,000 on it. And in the nick of time, like, a week or 4 days, whatever it was before the prom, she was able to go back to her daughter and say, I have great news. I just closed this real estate transaction. We can afford the dress now. And can you imagine how that made Eloise feel? Her daughter, I'm sure, was just thrilled as could be, but she went from humiliated to so proud of herself. And now her daughter's looking up to her mom thinking, wow, impressed. That's a big deal. And, I mentioned before, I don't have a big business. I have a great business. We get to know our clients, and because we do, they share this sort of stuff with us. And, think about if you were on my team, client support, programming, whatever, and we see exactly how much you make on every deal you do that we fund for you. That is, we don't, clearly. And we know you as a person, and you share, how your life is impacted by this. And then we share that with every member of our team. Every time we fund a deal for a client, an email goes out to every member of my team talking about who they are, where they are, how they found the deal, what they made on it, and the impact it had on them, what their words are. And we share that with every member of my team. Imagine getting that kind of confirmation of, the power of what you're doing to help people. Pretty cool. This is one of the reasons why people, that most of the people that work for me have been with me for a long time. So look, at the risk of this seeming a little redundant, in case you aren't familiar, let me just give you a quick rundown on how a wholesale flip deal works. There's party A is the seller, party B is you, right? You're in the middle. And party C is your buyer, that investor preferably, although it's certainly not required, but preferably paying cash. And by the way, this assumes you're not doing an assignment, okay? There are scenarios where an assignment isn't practical, or frankly, you just aren't able. One example would be a bank-owned foreclosure property. They make it clear you cannot do an assignment, so you need the funds to close. Or if it's a property that's listed with a realtor, it's almost for sure an assignment is not going to be allowed. Assignments, when you can, by golly, do it, but they're, not always permitted, we should say. So that's when the back-to-back closing comes in, and that's when the funding is so important, right? So there's two transactions. There's the A to B, you're buying the house now, and then there's the B to C, where you're selling the house, and this all happens in a matter of minutes or hours, and it's all handled by the closing agent, but with our help. That's the key. So you're putting my funding team, 12 years of experience, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of deals. And by the way, we know the right closing agents to refer you to. If you need a referral, come to us. And so you put my team on your team. You don't need to go build and train a team of people to help you with this. Use mine. My team is now your team. And so that is a big deal. And Fairdoon, he sent this email because he understood it. It says, hey, Cam, we closed our wholesale flip deal today, and I'm ready to say thank you. We couldn't have done it without you. We netted just over $40,000, and without your funding, we wouldn't have made a dime. That's the key. The funding was required. He didn't have the money, so we funded it for him and made all the difference in the world. So a couple points on this now. No fee transactional funding is not a hard money loan. So this is not funding for rehabs. I want to make sure we're super clear on that. And in fact, it's not a loan at all. It's funding, okay? So what that means is your credit is irrelevant, your job, your assets, everything about you, we don't care about. It's irrelevant. So we're leveling the playing field. So no matter what your situation is, when you get on board with this program, you are qualified for up to $1 million per transaction on an unlimited number of transactions for a full year with absolutely no funding fees whatsoever. This is not a loan. I don't care about your credit, your income, your assets, none of that. Your job, none of that. Maybe you found yourself without a job and you're thinking, oh my gosh, I can't do this. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. You absolutely can. And now's the time to do it. Again, this is specifically for wholesale deals, not for rehabs. That's a different type of lender. That's not in our wheelhouse. We don't do that. So just be clear on that. And frankly, all you need is a committed buyer, preferably cash buyer, although it's not required, lined up and ready to go. That's what makes this work. So think about it. The A to B doesn't work without the B to C. And there is no B to C without the A to B. That's all you and I care about to make this work. And we fund 100% of your purchase price, including closing costs. Now, I will say that earnest money, that's down to you. It's up to you to handle the earnest money deposit, but then we will fund 100% of the transaction, including those closing costs. So there is no application fee. There are no points or interest. And typically, you might pay 2 to 6 points. An application fee might be $250 to $500. There is no prepayment penalty. That could be thousands of dollars. There are no minimums. There are no profit splits. There are no fees whatsoever. None. So here's some frequently asked questions about this. Does my credit or income matter? Well, I've already addressed that. No, we're not even going to ask. It's irrelevant. Irrelevant. Is there a limit on the number of deals? I let the cat out of the bag. No, no limit. We will fund an unlimited number of deals for you for 1 full year. So there is a time limit. Now, of course, you can renew at the end of the year, and we'll talk about that. Do I need to do business in a corporation or an LLC? Yes, you should be anyway. Now, doing assignments, you don't need to, but if you're taking title to the property, back-to-back closings, right? Buying and selling, you need to be doing that in the name of a corporation or an LLC for all sorts of reasons that I don't have time to get into. And you might think, oh no, that's complicated. No, it's not. Simple as it gets. You form a corporation or an LLC in 5 minutes, you get a tax ID number, get a bank account, and you're in business. But that we have to have you doing business in a corporation or an LLC in order to be compliant to fund that deal for you. How much funding is available? A lot. However, and I've said it a couple times, and I'll say it one last time, there is a limit, a single transaction limit of $1 million. We will fund an unlimited number of deals for you for 1 full year, and just not any one of them can exceed $1 million. And by the way, we funded a deal for a client just recently. We funded $975,000. The client made $515,000 on a wholesale transaction. Now, I am not going to try to tell you that that's typical. It is not. That was the biggest wholesale profit that we've ever seen. That one, I've been wholesaling houses for 25 years. I've never made 500 grand on a deal. I was impressed. That was awesome. Whose money is used for the funding? This is important. Mine. Every single deal we've ever funded was funded with my money. And that's part of how we're able to do this with no fees. I didn't go form a 506B private placement memorandum, do and bring in investors and then promise them a return. If I did, I couldn't possibly charge you no fees. But it's done with my money. Every single transaction we've ever done, my money. And what that means to you is that you're dealing directly with the source. There's no middlemen, there's no markups, there's no 11th hour, oops, we're not doing this. I mean, it just doesn't, it's an entirely different environment because you're dealing direct with the source. What closing agent should I use to close my deals? If you've got one you're working with, we'll work with them. And if you don't, and you're looking for one that's investor friendly, by golly, save yourself the brain damage and come to us and we'll refer you to one, because we've worked with them all over the country and we know good ones. We definitely do. Can I do this with a partner? Sure. If you're legitimate partners and you're members of the same LLC or shareholders of the same corporation, husband, wife, father, daughter, son, mom, whatever, yes. What we can't do is take two separate entities, two separate, folks, businesses, and have them come together and us provide the funding for two entities with one program. It just doesn't work like that. It would break the business model. So here's an email I got from Brian Bagnall. This guy's interesting. He said, recently I used Cam's no fee funding program. He funded a deal that I wouldn't have otherwise been able to get funded, and I made $7,406 in a few short weeks from getting on board with the program. That's this program that you're evaluating right now. I also have 2 more deals set to close in the next 2 weeks. Was I skeptical? Yes. Was I scared? Yes. But Cam delivers. We are funding deals for our clients every single day, even now during this pandemic, literally. Now, part of the funding component is unlimited verifiable proof of funds, also up to $1 million. When you're buying a house from a seller who's, let's say, a bank seller, or there's a realtor involved, or a seller who's a little savvy enough to ask for proof of funds, you need to show that you have the wherewithal to close, or they will not entertain your offer. So without verifiable proof of funds, you're kind of on an island. With verifiable proof of funds, your offers get accepted. And what I mean by verifiable is my contact information is on that letter. So if the seller or the seller's agent, they want to know more information, they want to see a bank statement to back up the proof of funds letter, we provide it.
Cam, I got a question. So hypothetically, someone could use this proof of funds for an offer that they're not planning on using the transactional funding on, right? They just need the proof of funds for something that they're going to assign.
Absolutely.
You guys, think how powerful this is. You have a proof of funds that you can use when you're making an offer, even if it's for a deal that you'll be able to assign that you don't need to use transactional funding for. The truth is that you'll come across sellers that will want to see that you actually have the funds and have the ability to close. So this fills that need. I think if you plan to call yourself a real estate investor in 2020 and beyond, you need to go and get this. If you plan on doing a single deal this year, you need to get this. I've used the term no-brainer on this webinar earlier, but it's a no-brainer. I mean, just the motivated seller data feed alone is remarkable.
And there's no limit on your use. But now it's only my clients that use this. And again, I have a very small clientele, so it's not like some overused proof of funds. And whether we're funding the deal for you or not, we're going to back up that letter. We're going to support you, send a bank statement, whatever's required. And then if you have another way of funding it or you're going to do an assignment, we don't care. This is part of the package. It's there for you to use whether we're funding the deal or not. And I'm glad you asked that question. That's an important distinction. Now, for the no-fee transactional funding and verifiable proof of funds, there is no monthly option on that. We don't make that available on a monthly basis. We only make it available for folks who are part of this program. So you've got 1 full year of unlimited access included. And what's that worth? I mean, my gosh, if we fund one deal for you and you save the 2 points that someone else would charge you for that, I mean, what's that worth? It's a lot. Okay. So there you have it. The 3 things that every real estate investor's got to have to be successful in this business, whether or not there's a pandemic. And these things are now even more important to you because of the pandemic, because of the opportunity that's about to unfold itself in front of you and me. So having these tools is going to allow you to become or certainly give you the opportunity to become a recession millionaire. That's my hope, that you get on board with this program and you become a 2020 recession millionaire. And then you've created your own economy. And the next disaster, whenever that is, you can look back and say, I'm good because I got involved back then. So there you have it. There's your trifecta, all 3 corners covered. Deals, motivated seller data feed, buyers, the cash buyer data feed, and your funding coming with our no fee funding and verifiable proof of funds. Okay, so now the second half of the question, hold on a minute, Cam. How? We talked about why would I fund your deals without charging any fees. Now the question is, how could I do that and stay in business? Well, one big reason, and I said it already, is we use my money. So I'm not paying investors. You're dealing direct with the source. And I thought, well, if I charge nothing, no one could ever accuse me of charging too much. So how do I do that? I just have to reverse engineer that. And so I thought, well, what if I've got these software tools and, the proof of funds, certainly a very valuable part of the package. What if I put a package together of tools to help you do more deals and ask you for a one-time setup charge, nominal, no-brainer one-time setup charge? That was a requirement in my mind. It had to be, where the value had to way exceed the investment. And then if that one-time setup charge is enough to cover me so that at the end of the year, I've got a modest profit that I can show, well, then there's how I can fund your deals with no fees. And I understand, I did a big study that we have super users and then we have light users. We have some folks that we fund 20, 30, 50 deals or more per year for. And then we have others we might fund 2 or 3. And everybody else is somewhere in between. So on the super users, I'm going to lose a little money. And on the super light users, I'm going to make money. And on everybody else, it all just works out. And so I went at it from that perspective and it worked. And believe me, this was a total market disruption. There's a lot of folks in the transactional funding business that don't think very much of me now because we charge no fees on that transaction. 0. That was a big market disruption. Now, the normal one-time setup charge, it is a nominal $1,997. So just think about that for a minute. Call it $2,000. You have access to all those tools, unlimited access to the funding and proof of funds, up to $1 million with no fees whatsoever for $2,000. If you do one more deal because you've decided to make the investment, get on board with this program, do you think you'd make back that $2,000? I'd submit to you, you'd make it back 4, 5, 10, 20 times over. But for not a ton of people, I can do it for $1,497. So that is your one-time setup charge, $1,497. You get immediate online access to all of this one login, and there it is for one full year. And I think what you'll decide is that this is, in fact, that no-brainer that I had in mind. I mean, clearly the value is far greater than the investment. And if you'd prefer to call in your order, you can do that toll free. The number is 888-845-5219. I've got team members standing by. You may also see on your video a buy now button. And if you do, I'd encourage you to click that and it'll take you to that special webpage. But now you got to use the promo code on your screen there, 2020, like the year 2020 cash. And what that'll do is it'll lower the price. When you go to that special webpage, you're going to see the normal price. It's $19.97. It'll lower the price to $14.97, and it will add the bonuses that I haven't even talked about. So get on board with this because I'm only making this available during the webinar. So when we're done, we're going to shut it down because there's a very specific reason why I do this. We do what we call, internally, we call enrollments. We do relatively small, by most measures, very small enrollments because I'm unwilling to overwhelm my funding team. I don't have a big business. I have a great business. And I could. I mean, look at what we're offering here. I could easily overwhelm my funding team, but I'm unwilling to do it. And I'm also unwilling to overwhelm my client support team. I don't have a huge client support team. I have a great client support team, and overwhelming them would be rude. And not only that, it would compromise the quality of the support we provide you, which might negatively impact your experience with me, which I won't have. So we're going to make this available while we're on the webinar, and then we're going to shut it down. So enter the promo code 2020 cash. That's critical. Or if you prefer, call 888-845-5219. If you'd rather call your order in, we're prepared to do that on the phone, and we're happy to. All right, so a lot of people ask me, what happens at the end of a year? You know, I got on board, it was $14.97, a year's gone by, I want to renew. What does it cost to renew? It's only $1,000 for the next year. And you get continued access to everything, including the bonuses, for the next and for subsequent years. It's actually less. And I've had some friends ask me, you know, why do you do that? That's crazy. You could charge more. You know, I think, well, here's the deal. When you come on board as a Trifecta client, you're one of our very best customers. And I'm of a philosophy that you reward your best customers, and that's what this is all about. And I've had some people who may be smarter than me tell me I'm stupid to do this, but I'm going to continue to do it because it's my business and I decide. So now I'm going to include a program called Custom Comps. And this is important because this is going to turn you into an after repair value machine. Bottom line is we spent a year building this tool, and I designed it in a way that you play an active role in the process of coming up with the after repair value. And I believe the after repair value is just way too important to be left to chance. So there's a thing called an AVM. I'm going to talk a little technical with you here for a second. An AVM, that's an algorithm valuation model. And that's where, using an algorithm, you're provided with a value, okay? And a good example of that would be on Zillow, their Zestimate, right? Do you trust Zillow's Zestimate to be the value of that house? I don't. In fact, I don't trust any AVM. I want to look at the comps and be involved and come up with that after repair value myself. And so what this does is it gives you unmatched market intelligence, market trend analysis. You can apply your exit strategy for even greater accuracy and refinement. And it allows you to gain deep market knowledge in minutes, not years. So this is another example, sort of like the heat maps, where you quickly understand what's going on in any market. And we could easily charge $50 a month for this, but we don't. We don't give it away. We don't charge for it. We provide it as part of this program for you now as one of our best customers. And so a couple quick screenshots to show you. And I used the same address of the house we looked at before. It was on Empire Street in Port St. Lucie. And it pulls it right up. And then right here, this is a button you click. It says, click here to dial in your custom comps and determine the value range. And what we do is when you click that, it shows you based on a confidence score. See it over here on the top right. It shows you the houses that the system feels most confident about as being good comps. But then over here, you select and deselect the ones you want to use as comps. Now you might say, well, why would I want to do that? Well, because This one here on Aquarius Lane, the algorithm does not, but that's on a 4-lane road next to a Walgreens, and your house is in a subdivision on a cul-de-sac. Okay, maybe the same number of bedrooms and bathrooms, and it may have sold recently, and it may be nearby, but it's on a 4-lane road next to a Walgreens. It is not a comp, so deselect it. That's what an algorithm valuation model, that's where it's flawed. An algorithm valuation model would include that house, and then that might skew your after repair value, and you don't want that to happen. So you just look at the comps that are in order by confidence score, and since you know the area, and by the way, you can click through right on the address and look at Google Maps, Bing Maps, and you can verify if the house is on a 4-lane road and if it's actually, a good comp or not. And you include and exclude the comps that you know are the ones that make the most sense. And then you come up with your after repair value. So I believe so strongly, I have such a strong bias against algorithm valuation modeling that I tasked my team to come up with this tool, and it took them a year to build it. Do you have any idea what it costs to employ a programming team for a year? This was expensive, but that's how strongly I feel about you being actively involved in the process. So I'm not handing you a fish. I'm teaching you how to fish. Wouldn't you rather learn how to fish and be a knowledgeable investor and grow a real business? That's what this is all about. So that too, my exclusive members only custom comp system, we don't charge for it, but we could. You're going to get that for a full year as well. I'm going to include 2 free tickets to my Rapid Results Investor Summit. We do these 3 to 4 times a year under normal circumstances. At the moment, we are certainly not doing these. The 3 days of no BS, content-rich, what's working right now training taught by me. I don't send some surrogate. I actually teach the 3 days. And that's where we really get to know each other. And I love doing these events, but right now we can't. So you're going to get tickets to the event, and you'll get a chance to come because we will resume doing them. They're just too much fun and too valuable to our clients not to. But in the meantime, we may do a virtual version of this that you'll certainly be invited to as well. So you'll get the tickets. You can use them anytime in the future. And assuming we do some virtual versions of this, you can attend that and then come to the live one after. It's entirely up to you. But I want to make sure that we have an opportunity to really do a deep dive together into this so that you are in the place that serves you the best. Again, your one-time setup charge is only $14.97. You got to use that special promo 2020 promo code 2020 cash, and this is only available during this webinar. And when you apply that promo code, you'll see the price goes from the normal $19.97 to $14.97. Or give us a call toll free. Like I said, we have team members standing by. If you'd prefer not to order on the internet, I get it. 888-845-5219. Now, we came up with a special 3-payment option because I understand that $14.97 might be a little more than you're willing or able to bite off right now. I get it. And the way this works is we break it down into 3 payments. One now of $5.97, and then another payment of $5.97 in 30 days, and then the final payment of $5.97 in 60 days. Now it's slightly more expensive. 3 times $5.97 is a little bit more than $14.97, but that's because of the administrative costs that go into this and all of that. So I wanted to provide you with an option to get on board and take advantage. And then, by the way, nothing's held back. You get everything available to you immediately, and allow you to come in the pool at a more affordable number and break it up over time. It's kind of like the your mortgage forbearance program applied here, where I'm trying to give you a little pandemic relief. How about that? That's what we'll call it, pandemic relief. And so I've got some special bonuses. You're going to get our tier 2 style premium client support. This is USA based in-house. And think for a minute the value of being helped by someone whose first language is English and whose name really is Samantha or Mackenzie or Brian or Brittany or Nick. In fact, if you're calling your order in, you might be talking to any one of them right now. We do not outsource this to the Philippines. We do not outsource this to India. We have them in my office, although we are all working remotely right now, and we're very well set up to be doing that, and we're able to be 100% productive and take care of you at the highest possible level. But I'll be honest with you, I'm in New York, and we're shut the heck down here. Hopefully not for too much longer, but we still are. So think about that. When my team member says, "Hi, my name is Mackenzie," that really is her name. That's priceless. That's all I can say. That is priceless. Then another special bonus I'm going to throw in for you is 150 of our skip trace searches. We talked about the importance of that when the seller's off the grid. By the way, here's the thing. When you're able to locate a missing seller and your competitors can't, you whoop them. And write this down. There's been a few writer-downers here, and I hope you've had a pen and a pad handy. Write this down. When it comes to vacant houses, the harder it is to find the seller, the better the deal. That is an irrefutable truth. More than 25 years in this business to back that up. The harder the seller is to find, the better the deal. And the reason is simply because in our world, it used to be, when the going gets tough, the tough gets going. Well, unfortunately, we've turned into a world of when the going gets tough, most folks lay back down on the couch. They give up easily, but not you, especially when you have this tool. And now you turn deals into paychecks that your competitors scratch their heads and wonder how you ever even did that. I mentioned before, we've been providing skip trace services for real estate investors since 2002. This is clearly and easily a $450 value. I'm going to throw in 150 of our skip trace searches for free. And by the way, when you run out, don't worry, we have more. That's not a problem. So then what I want to include is my purchase and sale agreement home study program. This is available online in your dashboard. And I put this together for a simple reason, customer feedback. I've had customers tell me, Cam, the contract, the real estate contract or the purchase and sale agreement is intimidating. It makes me nervous. I don't really understand it all that well. That's what this program is designed to fix. I literally go through a sample purchase and sale agreement that is included with the program so you can follow right along. Line by line, every paragraph, every blank, what goes in it and why. And we look at it from two sides of the coin. We go through it once from top to bottom, every blank, every sentence, every paragraph when we are buying, okay? Because when we're buying, what goes in those blanks has one meaning to us. And then when we're done, we start over, we go back to the top and we go through it again, only in this case, when we're selling. So now you get to see how the contract works, what goes in it and why when you're buying and when you're selling. And one of the things you'll learn from me is that we don't buy like we sell, and we don't sell like we buy. So this is the most thorough and frankly fun, because there's some really funny stories in here, program of its kind, period. And it will literally put you in a place where you own that agreement. You know what goes in it, why, you know what it means, and never, ever intimidates you again. That is valuable. So you'll master the purchase and sale agreement, also known as the real estate contract. Every paragraph, every blank, covered in detail. We go through it once as the buyer, again as the seller, and it is available to you within your dashboard with streaming audio, and the agreement that we're covering is downloadable so you can follow right along. This is a $199 value. I'm going to throw that in as a special bonus when you get on board with the program right now. Here's another one. This is really interesting. You heard me talk about VAs before and that I was going to include this. So what I'm including here is 10 free hours of a virtual assistant's time who is pre-trained on our tools. So you're not going to waste a bunch of the 10 hours training them on our tools. They already are. So you can focus immediately on having them help you with stuff you don't want to do, like maybe cold calling sellers or buyers, or scheduling follow-up calls, or managing your calendar, doing online deep dive data mining on sellers that are difficult to find, social media management, getting social media, posts done for you, email management, managing your inbox, document management, keeping everything together nice and neat and organized, property management tasks if you own rental properties. Here's the thing. If you ask anyone who's successful, hey, did you build your business by yourself? They'd say, heck no, I built a team around me. I had to learn to delegate. Most folks think, well, nobody can do it as well as I can. I might as well just do it all myself. And that is a trap. Or part of your vocabulary is, I'm not very computer savvy. And you're thinking, I don't see a way to take advantage of these tools because I'm not computer savvy. Well, these VAs are computer monsters. Delegate it to them. And so here's the thing. When the 10 hours are up, there's no obligation to continue. I have a friend who owns a huge VA business, and what he said was, hey, look, I'll offer you this. You present it to your customers, and if at the end of the 10 hours they've enjoyed their experience and they want to continue, they will. And if they don't, they won't, and there's no obligation. And so his incentive is to make you happy so you continue. And if you're not, you don't. It's as simple as that, and that's exactly how this came together. And I, frankly, if you're not comfortable or you're not practiced at delegating, it's like a muscle. You have to build it up. This is a great place for you to start. This is how people grow a business, is they learn to delegate early. Focus on your strengths, delegate your weaknesses. This is a $200 value, and I want to make sure that we include this as well. So there you have it. That's the offer. And again, your one-time setup charge is only $1,497. That gets you immediate access to everything, and you have unlimited access for 1 full year. Take advantage of this. Be sure to use the promo code 2020CASH, or if you prefer, call us toll-free 888-845-5219. And again, this is only available during this webinar. I want to review our 3-payment plan. That is an option. You'll see that at that special webpage. You have the option to either do the $1,497, which is clearly you're going to save some money. So if you can swing the $1,497, it'll save you a few bucks. But if that's just more than you can comfortably bite off right now, I get it. Do the 3-payment plan, and why not? There's nothing held back with the 3-payment option. It's just a little bit more expensive to cover my administrative costs. So why this program? Why me? Why my team? Well, I said it before. Data is not data. There's such a thing as data hygiene and data quality, and that is what we are all about. I've been creating problem-solving tools for 24 years and have worked with tens of thousands of clients. I didn't just fall off the turnip truck and call myself a guru. We operate under constant and never-ending improvement, that Deming management model. Everything we do, we are constantly improving on, and you will see that when you become a client. You'll see how things improve over time, and then we're always coming out with new tools and things like that. My team, completely USA based. Everything we do is made in and serviced in America. American people working American jobs, making American dollars. We do not offshore, never have, never will. And we don't use a support ticket system. We use telephone, live chat, and email. And live chat, and people love that. I love that. That's one of the really powerful support tools that we brought on board a few years ago, and it's proven to be a great, great tool. Unmatched client support, people who truly care. I don't have a big business. I have a great business. I'm sort of reiterating the things I've mentioned all along, and there it is. That's the offer: the motivated seller data feed, 150 skip trace searches, the cash buyer data feed, $1 million in no fee funding with the proof of funds, the custom comp system, 3-day live training or virtual, whichever you prefer, and then the bonus package, all for $1,497. I appreciate this opportunity. Do you think this is a fair offer for your folks?
Listen, I don't even after today want to hear anyone complaining about how there's no deals out there. You need to go get this. That's it. Just get it. You guys know how careful we are. We're, bringing outside people in to present to you. We're very careful because we don't. Cam, we probably out of the last 4 years, we've brought 4 people, outside products, to you, our members. Cam has come back year after year because his systems work. Number one, I truly know and respect him, and I know his systems work. And I was actually, when I met him back in 1998, he was actually training me for another quote unquote guru. He was the guy that was on a bus, and he was doing a bus tour as I was going out looking for deals to wholesale so I could buy more multifamilies. That's how Cam and I actually met. You know that, Cam. You remember I was the one that's saying, hey man, how much did that Rolex cost you? Because here's Cam, young guy back then, back in 1998. We were in a Rolex, and I was thinking, damn, how did I get that Rolex? So anyway, Cam and I have been good friends since way back then, and he is just a man of integrity. But more importantly, his products work. And the reason that we keep bringing him back here is because we expose those products to you. At one time, I used to teach what's called the chunker strategy. And that is doing exactly what I did when I first started. Go out, buy a single family property, flip it, use that chunk of money that you get in that flip as a down payment for another multifamily property. And that's one way you can finance your deals without having to go out and ask other people for money. So this is perfect for that. I mean, this is part of the chunker strategy. And, over the last few years, as Cam, not only does he perfect this product, but he updates it, he makes it better. I mean, it's amazing. Cam and I have two different mindsets. He's an engineer, right? I'm big picture, like, go out there and make a big mistake and have somebody else clean up the mess and just keep charging forward. Cam is the complete engineer. And because he's an engineer, the products he created, as you can tell by this one, it's a tech product. And he spends his time under the cover, behind the scenes, just perfecting this thing. And I have seen it progress through the years. And I have to say, Cam, it's just been remarkable, the state at which this product has gotten to now. I mean, truly, it's like, one of those push the button and it gets done for you. So instead of going out and paying for a lift every time you need it, all you need to do is pay $14.97 and you have 10,000 downloads a month or unlimited access. If you do direct mail through this platform, it's simply a no-brainer. You can mail 20 pieces, you can mail 100 pieces, you can mail 1,000 pieces, you can mail 10,000 pieces. And again, if you don't have any money to start doing direct mail, then pick up the phone and start calling people. The scripts are right there. It tells you exactly what to say, how to say it. You just simply follow the script. You're going to learn so much by picking up the phone and calling sellers. And the best part is you're going to get deals. That's when you have your oh shit moment. When you get your first deal, it's like, oh crap, now what am I going to do? But you're going to get deals because the script works. The script has been honed through the years as well. It is exactly what the seller needs to hear. And more importantly, it helps you control the conversation too, because when you're dealing with a seller, okay, you not only want to control the conversation so you can bring it to where you want it to go, but you want the seller to tell you how they want to be sold, how they want, the type of offer that they want on their property. And that's what the script does. It gets you through. There's a lot of psychology going on in that script. And that's what makes it so good. So you do direct mail or you pick up the phone, you may start making phone calls, and you simply start getting deals. Doesn't matter how many Jackie Gleasons you do as you're doing that script. You know what I mean? You get on there, it's like, blah, 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 blah. You fumble over your words. You do it a couple of times, you get really good at it. You laugh at the times where you did the fumble, and then again, before you know it, you start getting deals coming in. And that's exactly what we want. So one of the things I've always been amazed at is that the transactional funding for no fees. I mean, Cam came out with that a couple of years ago. I told him he was crazy. Everybody charges fees on transactional fundings. I mean, it's another profit center for your business. He's like, nope, I'm not charging any fees for the transactional funding. So that's to your benefit, totally. I mean, what you save in transactional fundings on the first deal is more than what you pay for the system, getting access into the system. So what you want to do is go to rementor.com/Cam to get this. Cam, every time you and I get together, every time we speak, it's always fun. I always look forward to talking with you when we get to. I haven't seen you in a few years, but when we get to see each other. And I think, again, this is a phenomenal set of tools, and I'm proud to be associated with you, Cam. And I think anybody that becomes a client of yours, I shouldn't say I think, I should say I know anybody who becomes a client of yours is going to have a fantastic year. You really don't need anything else, period. So, Cam, is there anything else that you want to add before we let the people go?
Well, I would say that $14.97, I think, what's that come down to? About $4.50 a day. So that's like one Starbucks. If you want to kind of break it down to the ridiculously inexpensive, that is about what it comes out to. And I would say that your timing, if I had to start all over in real estate, I would want to be doing that right now. Right now is just the most amazing opportunity to help folks and be paid well along the way, and to help restore what will be a fractured, broken real estate market to something healthy again. That's what we do as investors. And the last thing I'll say is that, look, if you've been wanting to be in this business, now's the time, right? So the old saying is, if you want to plant an oak tree, when's the best time to do that? Well, it's either 20 years ago, and if not, today. So let's do this today.
When is now a good time to get started? Now. listen, it's not just me. Every person that follows the market understands that the opportunities are coming. I mean, they are coming. They're starting to trickle in now, and there's going to be a typhoon. And the sooner you get involved, the more of the piece of the pie that you're going to get for yourself and your family. This is the best thing that we've seen since the 2008 financial crisis. Now is the time to get yourself ready. Listen, if you're a surfer, right, and you're out there on the water, when do you get ready for that wave that's going to come, right? It's not when the wave's there, because if you wait till the wave is there, then you just bob up and down like a bobber. You know, you see the wave coming, you position your board towards the sand, you start paddling, and then when that wave comes, you just jump up with all that momentum and you ride that board all the way to the beach. It's the exact same thing in real estate investing. The opportunity is here. That's the beach. You're out there on the wave. Now it's time to get your momentum. So as you forward yourself in this business, you do more and more and more deals. So go to rementor.com/Cam and get this. You will only benefit from getting this product. As I said, Cam's been, I don't know how many times Cam and I have done an event like this to the list, typically once a year, but I don't know how many years ago. I've been teaching since 2002, so that's 18 years. Perhaps we've done it 18 times. I don't know, Cam, but I'll tell you one thing. The reason that Cam is only one of 4 people that we expose you to is the fact that his systems are awesome. His systems work. And nobody ever says to me, why did you expose me to that Cam Dunlap? What a creep. They never say that. They always say, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And more importantly, we're multifamily investors. Our number one core value is that we're not successful until our students are successful. And one of the things that helps you become successful is when you have down payments to buy multifamily properties. This system not only gives you down payments for multifamily properties, but it's going to give you extra chunks of cash that you're just going to simply put in your bank account. And then you can decide what you want to do with it. Maybe you put it into a savings account. Maybe you reinvest it. Maybe you just decide you're going to go out and have some fun with that money. Regardless of what you decide to do, in order to do it, you got to get the system. So go to rementor.com/Cam. Cam, it's been great being with you. I want to thank you for being on the call, and we'll talk soon, my friend.
Thank you. Always enjoy working with you, and I really look forward to working with your folks. That gets me excited because I know they're coming from such a great place.
All right, so thanks for watching, everybody. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you later.
Bye now.